Since the last update, I've made a lot of progress on my game, from an improved health system to interactable level elements and many more small details. But the thing I'm most excited about has to do with making the linear level design more interesting by using elements of non-linear level design. So I want to explain what changes I made to my game and why I chose to make them. Starting off, I already determined the game would be linear a while ago. This makes it simpler to design levels, since every obstacle can only be approached in a single way. The problem with this type of game is that because you don't have to think much about which path you take, it's easy to get bored unless there's something else to hold your attention. Here, that something else is difficulty, but I also think that certain non-linear design elements could help a lot, without compromising the focused gameplay. Starting from the initial area, I added a tunnel that goes down, leading into an area with hanging beams and new enemies. So far, nothing too special, but in the next area you encounter a cover, blocking you from accessing an interesting area with green bricks. Continuing on, there's another path over some asbestos, and then a vertical climb that eventually becomes very narrow. Finally, at the top, you reach a room that has a lever and another tunnel. There's no way to leave this room without pulling the lever and opening the tunnel. This shows that you can interact with objects to change the world, but also that if this cover over a green tunnel opened, maybe the other cover over a green tunnel opened as well. So you jump down the tunnel and find yourself back in the asbestos area, where you can move to the left and discover the next path has opened. Here's what I really love about this design. The path forward is never obscure or confusing. You don't even really have a choice where to go, but by simply blocking off the main path, you're forced to remember important details about the level so that it's easier to return later. And although the backtracking is somewhat substantial, because the level loops in on itself, the only area you have to revisit is the asbestos area. This means that you can get the focused obstacles of linear level design and the memorable worlds of non-linear level design. So needless to say, I definitely plan on designing more of the game like this. I think in general I'm starting to get a feel for what kind of game I want this to be, and it's becoming more enjoyable to see all the work I put in finally resemble a real game. Another thing that makes the game more game-like is the health system. I didn't discuss it last time, but it's quite basic. There are 4 health units, and you lose one each time you take damage. When you run out, you die. This time I also added this blue bar underneath, which increases whenever you kill an enemy. When it completely fills, you recover 1 health unit. In the future, I also want to add items that increase the bar, so there are ways to get health without killing enemies. I intentionally made the health capacity very small so that you have to play carefully, because I find that whenever I intentionally take damage in a game in order to skip challenges, it becomes less fun. There aren't many challenges at the moment, but I'm still adding new enemies and obstacles, which will be added into later parts of the level and current parts. One enemy I did add was this bomber, which shoots bombs at regular intervals. It's an interesting challenge on its own, but it should provide more interesting gameplay when combined with other enemies and unique terrain. I was debating whether to make the bomber killable or not, and I decided to make it unkillable so that its danger can't be removed. One problem revealed to me by the bomber has to do with the loading system. Because levels can be very large and don't have any loading zones, I implemented my own loading system. Most enemies that are far away from the player are unloaded and no longer perform any actions, including progressing their cycle. If 2 bombers located near each other are loaded and unloaded unevenly, they can become out of sync, making the section improperly easy or difficult. I haven't solved this problem yet, but it's something I'll address in the future. Now I want to talk about some smaller changes as well. The asbestos now only damages you when landing, rather than also when jumping. This is because I added asbestos pits, and it didn't seem fair to deal damage twice when fallen into. I also finally added knockback. I didn't forget it last time, I intentionally left it out so that it wouldn't cause unnecessary deaths. But I now think that knockback is good because it encourages you to be more careful around pits and just in general. I slightly changed the background to be a bit darker and a bit bluer. I just felt that the original seemed a bit out of place. I added some screen shake for certain events, which for now is only pulling the lever. The magnitude and length of the shaking is customizable as well. Lastly, I just wanted to say how happy I am with the cover opening animation. I haven't done much animation for this game yet, but I think this looks very smooth for 5 frames. The larger cover doesn't have an animation, because you never see it move, though I am thinking of adding some interesting designs on the back. And that's all I have to share now. Like usual, I'll still be working on improving the game, so if you want to keep up with future updates, please consider subscribing. Thank you. Bye.